Problems. Okay, so I mix the resin, let the resin stand, and there's a lot of aeration. Is that going to come out? Oh yes, it is. All this isn't dust. This here, that's bits of newspaper. Those are bits of bubbles in there. I'm only hoping that what's inside here, yes there are some bubbles, I've already had a little look, doesn't mean that the bubble's going to allow the fuel to go underneath here. This has not gone as well as I wanted. The instructions were followed perfectly. In part 2, as I've just referred to on the ST, we are doing much more to improve this process for the other petrol tank. We are going to clean it, making our own little machine. We're going to get bubbles out of resin. There's only so long you can let this stand before you have to chuck it inside here and it sets in here, and I left it for as long as I possibly could, knowing that it would still move. So I'm not sure how you get these bubbles out on their process. We are going to move on from this. I have a process to get these bubbles out. I hope it's going to work, and we have a process for cleaning the other side of the tank. Like I say, that's in the sequel. We have 2 sheets of ply, 19mm thick, both the same size. We've got a 0.6 RPM 12 volt motor and gearbox. Got a power supply for the motor, which is 220 to 12. Got some springs. Got 8 of those. And we've got this 3-phase. This is the 100-watt model. If you don't know what it is, you'll find out in a bit. So the transformer's obviously shot. Just calling out here any electronics guys would like to have some input or would like to help. I know it's a cheap Chinese transformer, but it should still work. And I want to learn here what's wrong with it. What am I looking at? I know what the components are on here, but I don't know how they interface with each other. I was all right at electrics and panel wiring, but electronics is yeah, it's a little bit of a push for me. So what's happening is 220 incoming. It is 220, well within, and lights are a bit. LED comes on. I know this is the output part, but sometimes they work a little bit when you play with the output part. 220 comes on, LED lights for a certain amount of time. Board makes the usual electronics types board noises, and then there's a click and then the LED goes out. So it seems to be, I don't know, but some sort of over voltage protection, because there's nothing on the outgoing, and it's not maybe selecting between 110 or 220 seizes out of voltage and shut down. When you turn off the incoming power supply, the board goes still off, but then obviously as the capacitors discharge, this LED lights again, and there is a small voltage that comes here. So it seems to feel that it's getting an over voltage somewhere. There is power across that fuse there. I've checked at the back of the board, and all the soldering's good on the back of the board. There's no burn marks. I mean, because I've got no problem with changing components on this board, but I can't see any burn marks. So like I say, if anybody has any input, anybody wants to help and make their own video, just let me know when you post it or whatever. Anyway, back to the build. New transformer's on its way. All sorted. I found an old Christmas tree power supply. Gives out more than enough power to power that safely, so that's what we're going to use, and just simply connected that directly to that. And there you go, if you can hear that running. Bit of an inconsistent sound, but it's running, and that's 0.6 RPM. I'm going to send the, well, I'm going to reach out to bigclive.com, cracking YouTube channel, very intellectual guy. So I'm going to see if he's interested in this. Might make a good video for him. tankier. So it says clean petrol tank first with tankier and rust remover. Now the tank that we've got here, I'll explain why the tape in a minute, is the ST70 tank out of the Honda DAX. There were two tanks in part one being the Chally, the CS70, and that one there, the ST70. I coated in tankier and I wasn't very happy with the results. There are these potions here, these are left over from the Chally. There, and there. I used the cleaner, I didn't really think it cleaned that well. I used the rust remover, well, I don't know. I've used far better rust removers. The resin itself was very, very good, but we generated lots and lots of air bubbles. So what we did with the ST70, I bought an ultrasonic cleaner. I've always wanted to get one and only needed the slightest excuse. Put that in the ultrasonic cleaner and it removed far more rust, far more damage from inside of the tank than any of those there within a matter of 20 minutes, and they were left for hours turning it over and over again. We'll come to that in a minute. But the only downside with it was with lots and lots and lots of bubbles were created within the resin, that I thought maybe one day that I dried with these bubbles as well, that they would get behind and destroy the resin. I don't know, I'm not going to take it out for now, but any signs of that I will take the resin out of the other tank. So how it was left was, we give this a quick clean, come out beautifully, just for a 20-minute cycle. This resin, if you are powder coating tanks, which I am here, you cannot put that resin in and then go and take it to the powder coaters, because part of the powder coating process is ovens. Ovens go far higher than that resin is allowed to go. So unfortunately you have to get it powder coated first, then do your treatment. Arguably you could clean it first, bare metal, hopefully it won't get no moisture, hopefully it won't get no shot blast, hopefully you could just clean it when you get back and it'll be perfect. So you remember what that was like after its lot of cleaning. It's come back from the powder coaters, it's a beautiful finish, but the inside of the tank has corroded, as would be expected. Now I needed to think of methods to clean the inside of that tank. I know there's people putting nuts and bolts in there on YouTube and rattling tanks around, and good luck to them, that ain't for me. You can get them tumbled inside machines, but then you got to watch the outside of the finish. You can get them shot blast inside. It's a thin tank, it's 40 years old, you got to be careful. How do you know you're going to get all round here inside? And any of these processes cost a lot of money. So I've designed this rig that you see here. Yes, okay, it's a little bit Pacific for an ST70 tank, but the thoughts here, you could change the jig. I'm going to certainly keep it in future, because I've always wanted to do an old DT up, a Yamaha DT in their tanks are there, so I'll simply just make another rig for it. I've also got a classic mower, an old Villiers mower with a rusty tank. I'll just probably sellotape that one on. So this rig, simple little cheap little motor, 0.6 RPM, little rig, that fits into there. Like I say, this is all finished now, that's why it's got all the tape on. I do not want this damaged. We're going to go inside in a minute with an endoscope so you can see what's happening inside there and what corrosion we got. It's a lot better than it initially was, but it's been sat in the powder coaters for a few weeks and it was bare metal, and it's been for a shot blasting photo, and it's been in an oven, gathered moisture, cooled down, all sorts. So it's going to need doing again. So we're going to go inside there in a minute. So that fits in there, and there's little clamps which you'll see when it's running, they go on there. There's a little clamp that fits on the front, and there's two washers here. I suppose if it was a production type scenario you'd have little over centre latches, but it's not, it's just a bit of fun. So what we're going to do here, let's read these instructions. It says clean the petrol tank first with tankier cleaner, which is that one, then rust remover. Absolutely useless, not even going to bother with that, because what we are going to do is going to clean that far better than that. And what I did find is Do you remember in the early days of, I can't, Rustol or something like that, you used to paint it on an old Austin Metro or something, and it used to go black, and it used to work. I thought that might do that, or at least remove the rust. It didn't. All it did was turn the rust into like a sludge, but you still couldn't get all round the tank. I still, even washing it, you still couldn't get in the seams. You need either an ultrasonic, do that, then an ultrasonic cleaner maybe, but then that takes all of that out. So what we're going to use is this process. Then it says tank should be absolutely dry before you apply sealant. Stir mix of two components, which is these two here. There's two tins there. This is where all the air got in. This is all the trouble. You just, even if you stir it gently, whatever, if you're going to mix it and mix it properly, you're going to put air in it. That will take us on to the next process that we designed for now. We're also going to, let me read this a bit more. Mix A and B thoroughly. Shut filler, slowly turn the tank in all directions, making sure the sealant reaches the complete inner surface several times. After turning for 15 to 20 minutes, drain off the seepage and remove the plugs from the tank. Minimum temperature while processing is 20 degrees. Well, I simply put mine in the house. Process time 20 degrees is 30 minutes. Wait 7 days at room temperature before applying petrol. I did all that, that's not a problem. Part of one of the problems, I did turn it for 20 minutes, was, besides the boarding, you turned it for 20 minutes, you still had to put it down. I put it down, and I put it down in a way that it says to drain off, so of course I put it with the filler going downwards, and this created all, I suppose if the filler was down, it'd be stalactites all the way around, and then I rotated it, and then you had stalactites the other way, and then I tried to leave it that way, and in the end we had like an ocean mountain range at the bottom. I can't see how you can get around that until this rig. So what we're going to do, we're going to fill this with, show you inside, fill it with glass. Okay, this is toughened glass. I've used this process before, I know it works, but that was simply shaking it by hand for a very, very, very long time. We're going to have a look inside after the glass has gone. Oh yeah, why use glass? Well, already here, this is just testing that the rig works. I haven't actually done inside the tank yet, but just spinning the rig with the tank in. There's all the shots come out of there. The shot corrodes. I don't want to use anything corrosive. With the glass, I've always had a good success rate in the past of washing it out. Whereas when I've had them sprinkled with a bit of shot, you'll do it all, and then you might do a few miles, and you'll notice little rust specks appearing. I've washed it, I've blown it with airlines, I've done everything. I've always had a bad run with shot. With glass, I've always managed to get glass out. So it's toughened glass, which goes into the cubes, it's just there. We're going to put that in, we're going to leave it for 30 minutes, spinning round, vibrating, doing its thing. We're then going to have another look inside the tank. Once that process is finished, I'm then going to clean it out with acetone. I am going to run the glass, when we're doing the glass, with a little bit of the cleaner, just to help it and give it like a grinding paste to get inside. I say grinding paste, just like to help get in the corners where really the glass couldn't as such. I'm not going to bother with the rust remover. Then wash it all out with acetone. Then we're going to go in with the tankier. Prior to putting the tankier in there, we're going to take the bubbles out of the resin, and we're going to do that by using a pressure cooker, highly modified, but we're going to use a pressure cooker. Pour the resin in there, and then we're going to leave it rotating and rotating until it's gone off. Although this is toughened glass, and it's a lot safer to handle than non-toughened glass. I mean, it is harder to cut yourself in this stuff. You should always wear gloves, because you can still, you get like a powder off it. There'll be like a powder coming out of there once it's all mucked around with itself. So yes, it is safer than standard glass, and you do need toughened to do this process, but you should still wear gloves when you fill it. So we're full near to the brim there. This glass hasn't rotated yet. That will not be the case shortly when it all breaks up. Now really you should use the filler, but I haven't got a filler that I wish to sacrifice. The only filler I got is the brand new one for that, which I don't want to use. So I always find some duct tape, gaffer tape. The good quality stuff always provides ample seal. Admittedly, I've never done it with such a vigorous shake, but it's always worked when I've done it in my hands with glass and a little bit of liquid in, so hopefully it'll work for us now. I don't expect it to be watertight, but as long as the leaks aren't excessive, it should be fine. What I probably failed to say earlier, although I said a bit of it then got sidetracked, you would never ever do this on like a car body paint process. You would never treat a tank on display like this. We're only doing it on a powder coated tank because the process of powder coating would destroy the resin. When you're using low bake ovens or just simple aerosols, you would never ever do this. You would finish the inside of your tank first, then prep it. There's no excessive heat that would damage the resin. So really bear that in mind. For God's sake, don't do this with a posh tank that's on show. This is inside the frame and it's powder coating, completely different to paint. So for me, getting the setup that I'm going to show you now wasn't really a problem. The only problem with this setup was the cost of what you would have needed, which is not favourable to myself. So here we go. We're going to use vacuum to get the air from the resin. This is all learnt off the woodworking guys. There are three forms of ways to get air from resin, and that is a blowtorch once it's poured and you get the bubbles to rise to the top. We can't do that with a petrol tank, especially a freshly painted one. Compression of the resin in a pressure pot that actually makes the bubbles smaller, and you hold it at a pressure while it sets. Or alternatively is the vacuum. We are going down the vacuum route. And here she is. I went and obtained. I went skip diving and found this. This is a beautiful old pot with a little safety valve on the side. It's obviously a pressure cooker. We're not going to use it for the pressure side. Remember, making the bubbles smaller, because we just can't for what we want it for. So we're going to make a lid for it. That was free. That was very expensive. This is a very soft rubber, sticky backed, absolutely useless sticky. Didn't say that when I bought it off eBay. That was a complete and utter rip off. But we're going to cut a hole in there, and then that's going to be our seal. I've had these Perspex blanks made. So that's what's going to be the lid. I then made all this is all loose at the moment. That will go on top of there. These are just a series of fittings off various people, China, whatever, to make up this. There's nobody in particular, there's many people there. This is some reinforced hose from a local hydraulic supplier, but it's food grade and it's suitable for vacuum as well. So we'll be fine there with the steel braid inside, stainless braid. I have a little filter here. This is simply a fuel filter out of a car. It is actually metal, it's not chromed plastic. But that's quite a fine filter. The reason we need the filter is if we're sucking a vacuum and something goes wrong, or the vacuum tends to behave, which you'll see in a bit hopefully, a lot like milk coming to the boil. All of a sudden, turn away, it's all over your hob. Similar sort of thing with this. The fish filter is really a sacrificial filter to stop any resin going into the pump. That's the pump you can hear running now. There she is. She has to have a warm-up cycle. I don't know enough about it for this video to tell you all about it. All I know is what oil to put in it and how to warm it up before you use it, not simply plug it in and off you go, because it is a lot more specialised two-stage pump as opposed to the cheap ones you get off eBay. So at the moment for this video I don't know enough about it, but it's on a warm-up cycle at the moment. So this vacuum that you see here, I posted this vacuum on the 28th of May on Instagram. That is still the same vacuum. So that pot has been an absolute success. That is simply vacuum there. So here we go. So there you go, the vacuum's back in. That has been completely disconnected all that time. And there you go, lid comes off. So quite a success there. So this is the pump, this is the Edwards ED50 pump. Comes from there, along the line, through the filter that we fitted. Got a quick release C-gen fitting. The two taps, currently the pump's running and connected, and we're not creating any vacuum at all. I put a filter on here so any dirty particles in the air, they don't actually go into the pump, because the pump's a vane type arrangement, and that's going to be quite sensitive to bits of rubbish. So turn the tap off and we start to create the vacuum. This is quite a fast creating vacuum pump to what you see on YouTube with some of the cheaper pumps, and in this day this was a very good quality pump. So we got the -1 bar there. So that's how the setup works. How the pump it works itself, I'm not 100%, I'm still reading up on it, finding it quite interesting. If we want to then detach the pipes, you simply turn off that valve. So now we've created a closed system there, and then you can disconnect that. And that now retains its vacuum. Look at all the little bits you get, the condiments with the pressure cooker. Nice little tray there. I'm sure they'll come in for something, whether it be when we pressurise this with compressed air or use a vacuum pump. Nice little thingy bob there. And then like a little drip tray at the bottom. We don't need any of that because we're going to use this pot here. This has all been cleaned with acetone. And I'm just going to check that we can get the pressure up one last time. Yeah, everything's good there. So we're good to go now with the resin. It's always best to check with the price of resin, it's so expensive. Yeah, we're good to go there. Masking tape will do because we're not going to use the vibrating facility again, we're just going to simply pour the liquid into there. Right then, this is where it all went wrong last time. I'm using the whole lot. You feel that you shouldn't really, and save a bit for another tank or a rainy day, but it's too much to lose. Just chuck it all in. You can always buy another one. It goes off. You've opened the tins. It's just not worth it. I know there's a few people doing it and say it will last and that, but just, you only got one shot. You can see there's air in that already, and I've only poured it in there. Right, let's get this stirred up quick. Make sure you got it all around the sides, because the last bit you want is a bit with no hardener in, or too much hardener, and it'll wreck it. You've got to do all the lining again. It'll get behind it, it'll peel it off. Really got to mix it up, but you ain't got that long before this stuff starts going off. Right, that's done. So, do you see all those air bubbles in there? That's how you'd have to pour it like last time on the CF70 tank. That's how I had to pour it. You haven't got the time to wait for them air bubbles to pop. I know on some things you can use a blowtorch that brings the bubbles to the top. The trouble is, it starts setting then. It's already poured when them guys, you see them guys doing the blowtorches. We haven't got that luxury. So, what you do, first of all, you clean the damn mess up you just made. The noise you can hear in is the vacuum pump running. And here we go. This is my first time at vacuuming resin. Here we go. It's 40 quid going here. Right, see the bubbles? Right, they're starting to pop because I'm closing it off. We are gaining a vacuum within the chamber. All the bubbles coming to the surface. Do you see how frothy that surface is at the top? See the resin starting to rise? It's coming towards us like boiling milk. Here it comes. This is where you have to be careful and let some vacuum off, otherwise it's all down us. There we go, just popped again. And do it again. Remember, we're against the clock all the time here. We had a little whoopsie, I wasn't watching the milk boil, as you can see. But it gives us a good opportunity, the bit that overflowed the cup, there you go. That's still coming out, and that's 9 minutes now, and it's still getting the air out of that. That's near clear now. Got a bit of tidying up to do though. So this is the bit that overspilt, so you can see there is not a single bubble in that lot. There's still quite a bit in there actually, quite a lot overflowed. The tank has been poured, this is just the residue. But see how clear that is. There is not a single bubble in that. And this is the process you've got to do with these tanks if you want it to be good. Right, we're going to let the tank harden now. I'm going to go to the cut now of the tank spinning round, dripping its guts out. The resin is still a liquid at the moment. I know this because it's starting to go off in here. This was just what was left over from the pour. We are going to have to let it drip out soon, but at the moment the inlet and the outlet to the tank is done, but it is starting to harden. If we leave it just simply spinning, it's going to start giving us like blocked inlets, and inlet at the top, outlet there. You won't be able to get your petrol cap on properly. So it is important now to start letting this stuff pour out. So this is just to finish up now. That's the nose of the tank. You can see the sheen on the tank there from the LEDs of the endoscope. That there, that's just all the resin reflecting back. There is absolutely no bubbles in that at all. If we compare that to the CF70 tank from the previous video, which was full of damn bubbles. There's a lovely clear resin there. That's actually on quite a bit of magnification. I've turned it up quite a bit, so you can still see the pitting in the tank, but you'll notice that the resin's got everywhere, coming down towards the bottom of the tank. The lights there are just simply the LEDs reflecting. Again, no bubbles at all. Lovely sheen from the resin, nice and even. There's no lumps like we had in the CF70 where the resin's dried, because I kept this rotating right until the point where the resin was dry. Coming back now towards the fillers and the outlet. But it's blocked at the bottom, so we'll have to drill those out. When you drill them out, be careful that you don't take it out to the complete ID of the pipe, because then you'll be removing the resin. So try and leave, if possible, a few thou in. I use a reamer to take mine out. Again, an even sheen throughout. So that's it for the tank. Okay, so that's it for this video. Really chuffed with the outcome. It's worked exactly how I wanted it to. Seems a bit extreme to some perhaps to make rigs and frames, but I'm not having air in the resin again. This has come out exceptionally well. We've got a little bit of work to do around the top here. You just do that with a little bit of flatting paper. You can take the large chunks off with a knife, but it's best with a bit of flatting paper. Don't take it back down to the steel, because you're back to square one. You want to just leave a little bit of varnish on the top. Mine's just a little bit of drips. Around here is smooth, but there's a bit of drips here, so I'm just gently going to flat those away. Now, this is off the Chalice CF70. Does anybody know where I can get this sticker from, or get a sticker like this made? Are there any restoration companies that produce stickers like this? I can get a high quality JPEG format of this, or a RAW file. It is slightly damaged, so it will need touching up the file, because that's where I'm going to get it from, is that sticker. It must say CF70 on it. It must be those sizes. I want the genuine article for the bike. If you can help with that, anybody knows, please leave a comment below. Thank you all for watching. Appreciate it. Subscribe, it helps. It helps with the ratings, helps to keep me up in the searches, and inspires to do more videos. So thanks a lot. The next one coming along involves that there. So it all just needs putting together, and that there. So that's coming. That will entertain some of the will it run restoration people. I thoroughly enjoyed it. That'll be coming next. Thanks for watching. There's quite bad corrosion around there. A lot of corrosion in the bottom of this tank. We can see all the corrosion on the sides. There's very little plating left there.